Anti-girls.
H, why did you close the game?
Oh yeah. That's a girl.
Why didn't you close it before I was just curious. I know. I don't know. How would I go? Encore. Encore? No, I won't drop it. I gotta get it.
And even disbursement of girls who died. That was 2 years ago.
Okay. We are going to, while we're waiting for the certificates to be drawn up, I'm going to speak briefly about the 6 bands that are part of this particular group. There's just too much material to go through in any kind of depth, so I'm hoping that you'll be able to read the comments and reflect on it as well from your own personal experience up here today, just on how things went. We'll start with the Tobico, which performed in the previous group, but it was actually as part of this group, and it's pretty hard to explain once people have it all worked out. At any rate, they're in this particular competition, and we talked to them directly on stage. But this was a band, just to remind everyone, this was a band that played Morning Dance and Wind Machine, and played with a great deal of confidence, particularly Wind Machine, which I felt they played at a very conservative tempo, but one that makes an awful lot of sense when you have young players and you have to execute the figures in a certain way. They also managed to build a fair amount of excitement into their performance, which I think is something that we're always trying to get across. There's sort of a balance between technical execution and also being able to create the right kind of... This band came out and knocked my socks off right away with a very powerful opening. And throughout, whenever this band plays shot notes, those individual eighths or quarter notes, depending on where they're positioned in the bar, this band sounds like a working pro band. It's just a wonderful sound, very good balance and intonation, and the band is able to create power as well as play soft dynamics. Now, the program was great. They played Moose the Mooch, and then they played Songbird. Songbird is tough because they went to doubles, meaning that the saxophones went over to bass clarinet and flute and so on. The intonation in the second tune was not as strong as it was in the first. So if you can get some of that professional quality that you're getting out of the louder and more powerful, exciting moments into Songbird, that would be great. But nonetheless, Songbird was played musically, and I want to congratulate you on a really good performance. Make one other suggestion, maybe just while I've got it here, because you may not be able to understand my graphics. There's a tendency in playing eighths in Songbird to, because you're trying to be musical, tendency to put an envelope on each note. And kind of pushing each note instead of phrasing over 4 or 5 or even 8 or 9 notes, depending on the phrase. A friend of mine, Bobby Harriet, refers to that as surging. And I kind of like the word. It's sort of surging on individual notes rather than shaping over the whole phrase. You could try that. That will give you I think, a little bit better result, or at least one that I would prefer. The balance problems occasionally in this chart marred the results. but as I said, you played with a great deal of confidence. And my hat off to the bass trombone player for sitting on that last note and going for it and finally nailing it in tune. Didn't come out right away. Dr. G.W. Williams played My One and Only Love and Cruisin' for a Bluesin'. And this is a band which I heard a few weeks ago, and I want to first, where is Williams? They're sitting somewhere back over here, right? You've made improvements since I heard you a couple weeks ago, and I want to congratulate you on that. The embellishments in the alto solo I enjoyed, and you can do more of that, and we were talking about that at that time. Balance and intonation in the ensemble in both pieces still needs work, and I want to encourage you to continue to try to play more as a unit, whether you're doing a ballad or in the up-tempo cruising, which I know that you recognize that that's a high mountain to climb, and you're really working hard at it. It just needs to be more unified. The double time double time section of My One and Only Love, which we had talked about, is right now. That's good. You've got that happening, and that's good. I made another suggestion regarding it, which I'll just let you read. Anything else I want to say from that one? No, mainly, I think the main thing here is to go for a more unified approach to your phrasing, and just more consistency as you go from one section of the chart to the next. Drums and bass, for example, later in the cruising were absolutely wonderful when we did that exchange back and forth. Everything was absolutely in time, and you related very well. When the ensemble came back in, then it wasn't quite as unified. So we want to get more consistency if possible. You're working obviously in the right direction. Already made good improvements in those couple of weeks. No, I think that's it for that group. And then we'll move on to A.Y. Jackson. She played La Tierra and the Checks in the Mail. Checks in the Mail may be, I think, in fairness, maybe the hardest chart that we're likely to hear in the next, tonight and tomorrow. It's a very demanding chart by Gordon Goodwin. This band has a bass trombone player who is just wonderful, has got such a great sound and plays with such confidence. I caution anybody who has developed their sound to that extent, that sometimes you're going to have to sacrifice a little bit to stay within the section or to balance with the brass, because you have the capability of wiping out everybody in the band, including the drummer, with that sound of yours. This group is very well rehearsed. There are places where, again, I was talking to the last band about this, not quite together. In La Tierra, for example, 16, where things were close but just not as tight as we would like them to be. What a wonderful guitar solo I heard in that tune. I don't know whether how this came about. There was a little pitch problem between guitar and bass, and maybe that was because when somebody tuned up to the piano and somebody tuned up to somebody else. I don't know. Want to caution you in the rhythm section to really take time with your tuning, and if the rest of the band is making a lot of noise and you can't hear, please ask them to be quiet, get the drummer to stop doing those press rolls, and listen to make sure you really get yourselves in tune. This really good control of rhythm in La Tierra from the whole ensemble, particularly at 98. I would like to see you develop more heat. This chart demands a little bit more at 154 than you're giving us. And I bet you practiced that pickup quite a number of times. You know, the da-da-da-da-da-da. It's one. Da-da-da-da-da. In La Tierra, it is sometimes right, and sometimes it sounds like you're scrambling a little bit. So those of you who have that pickup in the melody, continue to try to get it to lock. Checks in the Mail. I commend you for tackling this piece. Take a look at the articulations. There's a phrase which goes over and over again, do-do-da-do-da, which you're playing da-da-da-do-da. It's marked long, short. short, and it should be played da 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 da. And unless there's a real reason for changing it, I think you should do it Gordon's way. It is it's tough enough to get this piece the way it's written to starting to mess with it too much. Good dynamics, although I thought that the louder dynamic could use more power. Easy enough to say. This chart demands so much from the upper brass with stamina that you have to pace yourself. But nonetheless, if you're going to tackle it, you have to give it to us. And at the loudest dynamics, I just didn't think there was enough power. The soloists played with a great deal of confidence. I particularly liked the first trumpet solo. The vibes player played with a high degree of energy, as did the second trumpet player. Both vibes and second trumpet player watch your time doesn't get ahead of the rhythm section. When you're soloing, listen to the bass player. Listen to the drummer, but really be conscious of the sound of your accompaniment and make sure that you stay with them. I like the valve trombone player. It's got a good sound. Enjoyed the solo. And this was a good program, good contrast between those two numbers. I'll let you read the rest of that in the interest of time and move to Belleville. They played My Funny Valentine and North Shore Morning. First of all, the pianist who had the joy of playing this instrument that really is a nice instrument but needs to be tuned. Be careful about pedaling. Both times that we heard you solo, the pedal was down a bit more. Sometimes in an unfamiliar piano, that would be a problem. Maybe the pedal is higher than you're used to, or whatever. But be careful that you don't let nerves make that damper pedal go down. I enjoyed the vocalist very much, and nice to hear the verse on that tune. I think wherever you are, the young lady, I would recommend that you watch air support. It's going to make you feel more relaxed, more confident, and help your pitch a little bit too. That, for me, was perhaps the one weakness that I'd like to address with that. You have a good sound, but I think with more air support and so on, you're going to find that your pitch is more consistent. Diction was good, and I think that you could even relax a little more rhythmically. When you're the soloist and the featured soloist of the tune, and it's a well-known tune, it's good to personalize it. And you might listen to some of the great recordings of this tune that have influenced us all. Enough said. I don't want to embarrass one person more than necessary. Bass needs to be a little louder in the balance on this one for me. I just thought I'd like to hear more of that double bass. Trombone unisons, pitch, generally very good. The background phrasing behind the vocals, the phrasing was very good. Watch balance, though a little middle heavy. Now the lead trumpet player in this band has got a terribly difficult job because there's only two trumpets. And sometimes the scoring leaves you up there without anything underneath, no safety net. And I thought the lead trumpet player through both tunes did a very, very good job. The trumpet section, let's call it a section in quotes, two people. And I thought that you handled the things very well. What that means, though, is that the brass section may have to adjust a little bit so that the balance is satisfying. Baritone saxophone in the low register sounds great throughout. And the My Funny Valentine chart particularly allowed us to hear that. Again, and I spoke to an earlier band about this, you need more power when you get to forte and above. It's important that when the band has to play out, that the air support be there and that you're relaxed enough to let that happen. North Shore, one of the more popular charts this year. I enjoyed the opening. The clarinet player played very, very well here. Good sound, and managed to work with the piano very well. Trumpet, if you don't have those harmony mutes, maybe you could go into stand or something at the opening. But it would be nice to get the mutes out and change the coloration there. The orchestration is nice, and if you could use the harmony mute as indicated, that would be good. I thought the chorale at 7 was well played, if maybe a bit heavy for my taste. I would like to hear it maybe a bit softer. It'll just make the louder dynamic later, I think, a bit more effective. but it was well rehearsed, and I enjoyed your, the intonation was good. An excellent feel at 17, when the rhythm section kicks in. 25, I really thought the duet was played very, very well indeed. And the piano chords could be heard a little bit more. Now that may just because we haven't got to mic, but some need for harmony there. I'm becoming far too particular here and reading all of my notes, so I'm going to skip over. When you have crescendos, make sure the balance stays consistent throughout those. Sometimes it's necessary to practice chords up and down through the full dynamic range to make sure that you know how to balance at all dynamic levels. The tenor soloist, try to use the microphone. Let me demonstrate again. You see the microphone? That's the sound of my nose bleeding. But the mic technique is essential to learn, and too often we don't rehearse without microphones, and then expect to be able to do it when you get up on stage. The saxophone bell needs to be there, and don't put the bell right over the mic at all. It gets too hard a sound, but be very close to it. Drums, very effective solo. And I think I'll let it go at that. There are other comments on all of the sheets, and I hope that you can read them. I'd like everyone to, just for a second, applaud each other and the audience, applaud all the competitors in this class. Here, here.
Showcase stars on the 23rd of February at Victoria Johnson. Thanks.
And now, for the results. Regrettably, we can't give everybody first prize. We have to make some decisions. And so we have narrowed it down to three of the competitors in this class, and I'm going to ask that somebody from each of the groups comes out to receive their award. In third place in this class this year, Etobicoke Collegiate. And in second place, we have AY Jackson. And in first place, and in addition to that, receiving a second award for best of class, combining all of the competitors tonight, we have Agent Corps. Once again, congratulations to those who received awards, and to everyone that performed tonight, thank you. Adjudication sheets are at the table.
I'm sure this has been a baby. Where have you been all my life? We would also like to present, and I probably understand now how difficult a job it is selecting an outstanding performer in such a marvelous group. We would like to present the Bank of Montreal Honor Award this evening to a member of this ensemble, Andrew Solomon. We are still about maybe 15 minutes away from, I think, what are we at, 1:45? I'm going to break a little from tradition, and we haven't got another band coming on till 8. Have you got another chart? No? Just for Blow. Anything you want to do, give us a few. much, Agent Court, and a special thank you to the two ladies on French horn who passed up spending February the 14th with the love of their lives to play one song. Oh, you'll get over it. Eva will now take you to your clinic room and you can get some help there. Thank you.